You're listening to the Good Question Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Our goal is to make each of our guests exclaim, that's a good question. I don't know the answer. Because when that happens, it means you, the listener, may be inspired to learn more beyond the interview and to ask great questions yourself that lead to new insights. In this podcast, we cover historical and current anthropology, comparative religion, and history. Welcome, and let's get started.
Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Good Question Podcast. We had an interesting guest, Adam Stringer. He's the director of the Insta360 camera. He was very generous and gracious and sent me a whole setup, which I'm going to leave to my son, who's more tech savvy, to set that up this weekend. So I'll be getting my own experience of the camera, which looks cool. It says 8K on the box. And I know from watching TV, 4K is pretty amazing. So an 8K camera is going to be like probably ridiculously good. So I'm looking forward to that. And thanks for coming, Adam.
Brilliant. Well, yeah, thanks so much for the invitation, Richard. And I'm glad to hear that you've already received your X5 and you're looking forward to testing it out. And that's right. So I'm the director of partnerships here for Insta360 in North America. And key areas that I focus in for my work is our brand partnerships, especially within motorcycling, with BMW, with Harley Davidson, and then also on the winter sports side with all of our winter resort partners. But yeah, outside of that, I also work at a lot of our other key verticals too, including tech, travel, lifestyle, virtual tours, enterprise use cases, construction. So there's really quite a broad scope of work we do here at Insta360, and yeah, really excited to talk more with you about Insta360 and especially our new X5, which recently released.
Okay, so what was the is this a long line of cameras that just got more and more capable, or is this a new invention that was, that just hadn't existed at all before for you guys?
Yeah, great question. So we've been working on our X series of cameras for quite some time now. And this is now the fifth generation, so the X5, and it's came quite a long way since the beginning. The company has been going now since 2015. So this year we're on our 10th anniversary, and now the X5 is really the culmination of all those years of experience and technological breakthroughs to be a complete, undoubtable industry leader in 360 action cameras right now.
Yeah, and it says 8K, and the camera itself is it's about half the size of a smartphone, which is crazy to pack all that into a small device. Is that in the field of cameras and the resolution, where does this one stand in terms of size to I guess pixel density ratio, you can call it?
Yeah, it's quite a mighty little piece of equipment, that's for sure, in terms of power to size ratio. And in terms of 360 action cameras right now, it's leading with 8K 360 video. And I know you mentioned before that 4K even sounds like a lot, but yeah, 8K is pretty incredible. And also you got to think too, with it being a 360 camera, that's 8K, but those pixels are dispersed in a full 360 sphere, right? So let's say when you're shooting in 360, but then you want to cut out, let's say, one direction or one angle for a video that you might want to edit and share on social media or YouTube. Depending on how you reframe and cut from that 360 image, you could get around a 3 to 4K image when you actually cut one perspective.
So how many cameras are embedded in this form? In this one, it looks like one camera, I guess, but how many are in there?
So in terms of lenses, the X5 has 2 lenses, and we have a lot of different 360 cameras in our product line. We have the X series, and we also formerly had the 1R, 1RS, RS 1-inch 360, but the X series is our leading 360 camera line, and the X5 is our new flagship, and it has these 2 fisheye lenses, which each shoot around a 200 degrees field of view. And then with the tech, it can then just merge those images and make a really kind of seamless stitch line. So when you're shooting everything. And the real beauty of that is, let's say you're just traveling on vacation and you want to get some cool shots. Recently, I was actually jet skiing, which was really nice. And I was just holding the stick pointing forward, and there was a dolphin just swimming around, which was really cool. And let's say normally if I was videoing that with my phone or a traditional camera, you have to really think about framing all your shots and making sure you're pointing the camera at the subject you're wanting to record. However, that would obviously detract a lot from my experience, and things like dolphins, they're popping up, they're here, they're there. It's hard to know where they're going to be, right? So when I had my Insta360 X5 on the selfie stick, I don't need to worry where the camera's pointing and where it's framed because it's filming everything. So I'm enjoying my activity. The camera's rolling. I'm rest assured that it's filming everything going on. And then after the activity in the app, I can then pull and check all those moments and I have everything.
Yeah, but I mean, to do the 360 though, I would still think unless it was above your head, you'd have to turn around, about 180 to capture everything around you. I could see it, capturing approximately 160 or 180 depending on what you're facing, but like how much do you have to move to get a true 360?
So no matter where the camera is placed, it's shooting in full 360. It depends on the camera mounted. So in this scenario, I had the X5 on the invisible selfie stick, which is around 1 meter long, the stick that I was using. So then I can point that forward and point it in the air. And then also the cool thing about these 360 cameras is there's basically an invisible blind spot right below the camera. So that selfie stick becomes invisible in the video. So the resulting shot is kind of like a drone shot. You don't see the stick, you don't see the stitch line. It just looks like a floating drone. So, for example, I'm talking about this jet ski shot that I was doing. I was pointing the selfie stick forwards and upwards in the air a little to get a good view of me and the surroundings showing the dolphins. But I could also mount it, let's say, to my chest if I wanted. And although it's shooting in 360, it would then capture, let's say, a really wide angle forwards facing POV.
Have you had, I don't know why, I guess I like real estate, but have you had realtors use this? And if so, do they make really cool videos of the properties?
Absolutely. So one of our leading software providers in this space is Matterport, which we're going to soon be announcing our compatibility with X5 and Matterport, just like all the previous X series products. And yeah, creating amazing immersive virtual tours for real estate is a huge use case. And especially you were saying before, it's just a pocket-sized tiny little camera. You put that in your bag, in your pocket, you pull out the tripod, the selfie stick, and then you can get these incredible 72 megapixel virtual tour shots in like super quickly with the different, and also what's quite nice is our cameras are compatible with multiple software providers. So whether you want to use Matterport or any of the other leading providers out there, you have the flexibility to choose. But yeah, in a matter of, let's say, 30 minutes, you could probably scan, for the most part, a standard size property and then build your virtual tour. So it's pretty powerful.
Has there ever been a use case to combine this with drone footage and then mesh the two together? So you're not only getting like this 360, but you're getting like just, I don't know, just even more data from a certain situation?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the 8K quality now, especially with the X5, you can merge that footage with lots of other high quality footage. And whereas maybe, let's say on the 1X, X2, when you cut and reframe that footage and then integrate it with, let's say, other big cameras or drone footage, you might see that quality difference. But now it's really nice with X5, with that 8K footage. Even when you reframe it, you're still going to get that 4K, 3K style footage that fits really nice. Let's say if you want to then combine it with drone footage or DSLR footage, you're not going to see like a big gap in quality there. So to answer your question, yes, it cuts really nicely with drone footage. And speaking of drones, we also have a fun campaign we often do where we say no drone, no problem. So let's say if you're in a national park and there's strict drone laws, or you're in a city and you can't just whip out and fly your drone around, or on a mountain at a ski resort and it's not safe, or again, rules prohibiting drone use, you can use our camera on the invisible selfie stick and you get that drone-like shot, but at a fraction of the cost, and it's super easy. And we also have, Richard, 10-foot long selfie poles available on our online store, which is pretty funny. Like you can put the camera on the end of that 10-foot pole, and when you raise it in the air, it literally just looks like a drone angle. And it's really easy to control as well. And I've used that in quite a few cool scenarios.
What about stores for security or banks? Instead of a video camera tucked in the corner in the ceiling, or even the ones that are in the ceiling, you need multiple cameras to get some kind of view. I could picture a couple of these like drops down from the ceiling, sitting there, that could get a much better view of everything going on and much higher resolution.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty cool use case idea. And right now, I'd say the hardware's there with our cameras, but it would then need, I think, the software and the app being built to go around that to make that use case feasible. But that's something we may potentially explore more in the future. Regarding the safety aspect though of our cameras, we already have a lot of motorcyclists and car drivers that will use these as dash cams because you can just plug it in via the USB-C, so you can just power it as long as you like. You can put it in loop recording mode, and then you get that unique 360 dash cam perspective, shooting everything. So again, you don't have to worry about framing. You can be rest assured you're really capturing everything. And for motorcyclists especially, this is something that's just not existed before. So we're finding that's a valuable tool for those guys to help them keep safe on the road.
Can you so like at 8K, I guess the camera wouldn't be operating 8K at all times, but let's say I have a scene, I don't know, my friend's like water skiing and I want to get some cool footage of him. But when he gets close, what I would like is his face and maybe his body to be in 8K. I mean 8K right around him, but everything else it's okay if it's like 4K or even 2K because it's like my normal vision, peripheral, I don't care as much, let's say. But if I want to focus on certain things within a scene, can the camera be tuned to do like facial recognition and again, increase the pixel density on certain parts to get more detail?
I'd say there are maybe third-party softwares that allow such advanced features like that, but standard, when you're recording, let's say 8K 360 video, the whole video is going to be shot in 8K, and then you can just kind of cut and edit that as you like. So I understand your point, Richard, that peripheral is not as important, but yeah, it's still fine to shoot in full 8K 360, and then you just capture everything basically.
What about if I want to later zoom selectively on certain parts of the footage? Because you're recording natively in 8K, does that allow me to zoom more without image distortion or blurriness than otherwise it would?
Exactly that. So let's say if you've got an 1x2 or an x3 and they shoot in 5.7K, when you then want to go and cut and crop and really pull in on a certain angle, you're going to sacrifice quality there. However, with the X5 now having 8K, you can still cut and zoom in on those angles and not sacrifice as much quality, and you can maintain really nice shots.
Yeah, that's really cool. Are there any cameras out there that do 12 or 16K, or is that not even possible yet?
I'm not aware of that yet, especially like handheld action cameras. X5 is by far the industry leader right now. We do have, Pro 360 cameras like a Pro 2 and our Titan that's shooting stereoscopic VR. But yeah, those things are definitely not gonna fit in your pocket and are at quite a significantly higher price point. So probably not for the average user. I'd say yeah, size and price point to power ratio, I'd say X5 is by far the leader right now.
Yeah, that's really cool. Is there can you put any attachments on it, like lenses, like a macro lens? Let's say I want to shoot a really, really tiny scene or really close up. Like, let's say I want to like zoom in on a flower and look around as if I'm like a bee, and each of the flower petals are really close to me. So I would need a macro lens. Or if I'm in a big expansive area, can I somehow like telephoto or something to just so I can see even more? Can you do that?
Okay, so yeah, we don't have macro lenses for 360 cameras, but the focal distance is really short, and you can get amazing shots. And we have some really cool stuff shot with flowers, with people using the X5 on the invisible selfie stick, really sticking it right into the flowers, and you just raise that stick up and get amazing shots. And then regarding our accessories for the cameras, so there's literally hundreds and hundreds of accessories depending on the sport you like to do or your hobby, different tripods, different selfie stick lengths, different cases. There's infinite accessories almost. So no matter what your shooting scenario is, you can set the camera up and get amazing results. And regarding accessories, one that I really wanted to mention with the X5 today actually is a pretty groundbreaking new feature for 360 action cameras. We've got the first replaceable lenses on a 360 action camera. So one of the big pain points previously with 360 action cameras was because those lenses are fisheye and there's two of them, one on each side, they can often ding up. Like if you put your camera down on a hard surface even, or you drop it, or you just ding it on something basically. In the past, you would then have to send that camera in for repair to the headquarter. It can take a bit of time, cost a bit of money, and it's just quite inconvenient. So now though, with X5, we've got like a lock-in mechanism around the lenses, and for $30 you can get these lens replacement kits. So if you ding up your lens, you can just literally replace it in a matter of minutes at the comfort of your own home, and it's done and it's ready to go. With previous generations, you could put lens protectors on, like we had plastic ones and glass ones that did protect the glass lenses, but you guys know that's just an extra point of refraction. Maybe it steams up a little bit or gets dirty and can degrade the footage. But that's really a massive new feature with the X5. Probably the biggest pain point of all 360 action cameras is just dinging up those lenses and dealing with that. So yeah, the replaceable glass lenses is massive, and already people are super excited about that. We've had some really funny videos of our partners purposely actually smashing up lenses and then showing how easy it is to replace them.
That's really cool. That's a good idea. Or if you're in a, I don't know, a place where there's like sand that's blowing or other stuff, what if it abrades the lens, over time? If you have it outside, maybe sunlight, UV, ocean spray, maybe salt gets on it, again, or sand, and that abrades the lens. You could always put new eyes on it, if it gets cataracts, I guess.
Exactly. That's another good point, because obviously these 360 cameras are built for action and to be capturing in also harsh environments. So when you're pushing it like that and the lens gets scratched up or degraded over time, and just being able to replace that now in a couple of minutes for less than $30 is pretty sweet.
Is there like a waterproof housing you could put over it, or a night vision housing, or an infrared housing? Instead of like putting it, I guess you could either put in a lens, or maybe you could put something that just goes over the whole camera that has a hole in its own lens. So now you can do, again, night vision or infrared or something.
Yeah, so regarding waterproofing, the camera itself, the camera body is waterproof to a depth of 33 feet without a dive case housing, which is really nice. So let's say if you're like me going jet skiing and it's getting wet or dipping in the water, there's no problem there. But if you really want super high quality footage under the water, you can just pop on a dive case, an invisible dive case. So basically when you put the selfie stick on the camera and you're, let's say, scuba diving or sticking it underwater, you still get that really clear, amazing video quality. And the stick's going to be invisible too. And it's to a depth that I think past 150 feet. So it can go very deep indeed.
Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, interesting. Any applications for the camera that surprised you? Like people that you partnered with or that you've spoken to and you're like, really? Like weird applications you never thought of.
Yeah, that's a good one. So there's so many, I guess, popping into my mind, like weird and cool applications. One that recently was just really impressive that's been going viral was we got this partner called Estons out here in the US, and what he did, he was at this like beautiful waterfall and he was stood on top and he had the invisible selfie stick and he had like a little floaty grip, like he kind of taped to the base of the stick, and he actually put some like fins on the bottom of the stick to make it more aerodynamic. So he stood on the top of this waterfall, and with his X5 he threw it over the waterfall like a javelin, like through the air, so it arced over the waterfall and then dipped right down over the water, following the water down and into the pool at the bottom. And now, because X5 shoots 4K 120 frames per second, he basically made this incredible like javelin style video that looks just like a floating drone flying through the air in slow motion and then dipping over the waterfall and landing. And that was really incredible. So I'd say that was one that stood out recently that I've seen. Again, some really beautiful virtual tours and people using it for the photo taking abilities, which are really amazing. And then also I think because motorcycling and winter sports are both really like key user groups for us, I've seen some amazing stuff here. Like one of my favorite ones with the motorcycling is people put it on the selfie stick and they attach it to the back of their motorcycle. And because that stick is invisible, the resulting shot, it's just like a video game style third person shot, like following the bike along the road. So those are really awesome too.
How many frames per second is the 8K, the most recent one?
So 8K shoots 30 frames per second, 8K. And for most shooting scenarios, I'd say that's generally going to be sufficient. Like,
So is there a trade-off then? If I wanted more frames per second, I couldn't have as high a resolution, or no?
exactly. So, for example, if you want to shoot in 8K, you can shoot 8K 30, but then maybe you want to shoot 4K 120 frames per second. So it's always that kind of yeah, the higher frame rate, you sacrifice a bit of resolution. But we still find that with 4K 120, you still get amazing quality. And especially if it's just a video, let's say for social media, that's going to compress the video anyway, it's still going to generally be sufficient. And with X5, yeah, you can get really, really nice slow-mos.
That's what I was going to ask you, Red. How do you, I guess a real slow motion camera would be like, what, 10,000 frames a second or something. But do you ever see that? Could a slow motion camera ever be integrated into, your camera, or is it just the form factor is way too small?
Who knows? I'd say, yeah, form factor and price point, we have to kind of balance out there. So for kind of a pocket-sized camera for $549, we're not quite at the 10,000 frames per second just yet. But who knows? Who knows in future generations what we might pack in there? But yeah, 8K 30 is probably our standard shooting mode that most people use. But yeah, going down to 4K 120 and it still looks pretty epic.
Put any calls or interest in infrared or night vision, or that's not really the area in which this camera lives?
Yeah, it's not particularly the area this camera lives, especially the infrared. But regarding night vision, with the X5 now, so the image sensors are 144% bigger than that of the X4. So the low light performance is way better. Pulling all of those details out of the shadows, not having that kind of grain and noise that you might have seen in the footage from previous generations. And we also have an upgraded pure video mode, which basically uses AI to kind of denoise those shots and really choose all the best exposure for the camera and settings depending on the shooting scenario in low light. So we've had a lot of people really singing the praises of that. Some great content coming from our partners, from people reviewing the cameras online. And I would say that's actually probably the two biggest upgrades with the X5 compared to previous generations is going to be those replaceable glass lenses that I was talking about. And then those like giant image sensors that it's got now, giving you the real amazing low light performance.
Well, if I have like the top of the line photo editing software, video editing software, and I get, a video from you guys in 8K and I get it from, someone else in 4K, what can I do more with your video that I couldn't do with someone else's because of the much higher resolution?
So are you talking about there, Richard? You get 360 images or videos, one in 4K,
yeah, I
in 8K?
Right. I get one from you guys, and then you X number of years ago. Like, what can I do as like a top end video editor with the footage you guys have now that I couldn't do before?
I'd say primarily what you can do now with the 8K footage, it's just going to be way high quality, with way more data, way more detail, giving you more flexibility for grading basically and playing around with the footage. So yeah, just far superior quality, but in the same kind of format.
Do you have to use like a different compression framework, because 8K, I would guess, would produce a lot of data every second versus 4K or even less?
Yeah, so regarding the actual compression frameworks, I'm not sure if it's changed too much from previous generations, but generally, what's really nice with our editor when you're having to deal with that 8K footage is, for most people like myself, people will just do the editing on the Insta360 app. So like when you get the camera, you get the Insta360 app for iOS, for Android, which is completely free. And then you can just remotely connect to the camera via the camera Wi-Fi Bluetooth and then edit the videos from the camera on your phone. And then you just download locally to your phone the edits and the videos you like, and all those big heavy video files, the 360 8K files, they stay on the SD card on the camera. So it saves kind of your phone memory there. But let's say if you're on the more like prosumer end of things and you're really wanting to custom all the settings and maybe reframe on our desktop Insta360 Studio app, you can do it on there. No problem. If you prefer desktop editing, that's also free, comes with the camera. And then you can export in, let's say, 4K ProRes for long form YouTube videos. It has a direct Premiere Pro plugin on our studio as well, which a lot of editors like. So we can try and give all of our users, from the lower end to the higher end, the flexibility to choose the editing workflows that work best for them.
Okay. And right now, where can people get the camera? Is it available like on Amazon and stuff, or where do they have to go?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of places that you guys can go to pick one up. We have the Insta360 store on our website. You guys can check it out there. We also have them available on Amazon. It's just going to be maybe the fastest actually in terms of delivery and shipping. And then Costco, Best Buy, B&H, your standard stores like this are also going to be stocking our products. But yeah, I'd probably say Insta360 online store would be the best place to go and pick one up. And for the X5 right now, the standard bundle, it's just $549. So you definitely get a lot of bang for your buck in this pocket-sized camera.
Well, excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and for sending me one. Looking forward to using it. And this was a great call. I appreciate it. Thanks, Adam.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Richard.
Thank you for listening to the Good Question Podcast. Please email support@thegoodquestionpodcast.com if you have any referrals to great guests for us to interview. Visit thegoodquestionpodcast.com to hear more interviews. And please help us spread the word by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to this podcast.